When the incoming Fed chairman, Kevin Warsh, says this,
quick yes or no, do you believe that digital assets should be incorporated into our financial industry so Americans have new investment opportunities and consumer protections?
Senator, digital assets are already part of the fabric of our financial services industry in the United States, yes.
Then something doesn't feel right. Because when Kevin Warsh starts saying things like that, it's not noise. It's a shift. Quiet, but real. And that's when Samson Mow saying Bitcoin could 20x stops sounding crazy and starts sounding like a warning. Not hype, not hope, a signal. Because moves like that don't begin when everyone's ready. They begin when nobody's paying attention. Right now, it still feels normal, safe, like there's time. But that's usually the moment right before it changes, fast. And when it does, it doesn't invite you in. It forces you to chase. So ask yourself this. What if the move already started and you just don't see it yet?
Bitcoin will take off, and it will take off in a far bigger way than metals has. So I posted yesterday, there's two major things that happened in the last 12 months, last year, that are super critical for Bitcoin. One is the breaking of the 4-year cycle, right? Like that just eliminates that myth that people were believing that it's going to follow this 4-year cycle in perpetuity forever. It's going to be a couple of years up and then one down and then again. But we broke that. And it means that anything can happen now. But the second one that's really important is the myth that Bitcoin is too big now as an asset class to have a big move. And that's thanks to the metals. So gold almost did a 2x, almost doubled its market cap. Silver did a 3.4x. And these are large asset classes, like the largest on the planet. And Bitcoin is, somewhere around the 2 trillion mark. And it definitely can do a bigger move than gold or silver, because gold and silver are largely captured or illiquid in the physical spot markets, right? Whereas Bitcoin is liquid in the paper markets, like trading ETFs, but it's also incredibly liquid at the spot market because it's just information that you can zip around the planet at the speed of light. So I think when Bitcoin runs, and Bitcoin will run, you're going to see a 10x, a 20x. And that's when all the gold investors are going to sit there with their jaws open in disbelief.
Something is building around Bitcoin, and it's moving faster than most people realize. Not just in markets, but in places you wouldn't expect. When figures like Samuel Paparo begin acknowledging its potential, it stops feeling like a niche idea and starts looking like a shift happening in real time. This isn't loud, it's quiet, almost invisible. But that's how these moments begin. Before the headlines, before the crowd reacts. And by the time it becomes obvious, the move is already gone. So the real question is, why are signals like this starting to appear now? Watch closely.
Do you think that a strategic Bitcoin reserve helps America compete against China?
Senator, our research into Bitcoin is as a computer science tool. It's the combination of cryptography, a blockchain, and a proof of work. And Bitcoin shows incredible potential as a computer science tool that through the proof of work protocols it actually imposes more cost than just the algorithmic securing of networks and our ability to operate. And Bitcoin is a reality. It is a valuable computer science tool as a power projection. And outside of the economic formulation of it, it has got really important computer science applications for cybersecurity. Bitcoin is a reality. It is a peer-to-peer, zero trust transfer of value. Anything that supports all instruments of national power for the United States of America is to the good.
When signals like this start coming from places no one was watching, you know something is shifting. It's subtle, easy to dismiss, until it's not. And that's exactly what Samson Mow is pointing to when he says Bitcoin is going much higher. Not hype, something deeper building underneath. because by the time it feels obvious, it's already moved. So what exactly is he seeing that others aren't yet? Let's go deeper into his thesis.
The biggest thing that they'll look back on was how it was so obvious, but so many people missed it. I mean, right now, it's almost like you have this collective misunderstanding of Bitcoin on so many levels. Like, what is Bitcoin? A lot of people think it's a tech stock. A lot of people think it's a hedge. And you're still competing with, well, in the minds of some, not us Bitcoiners, but in the minds of some, you're competing with all these different altcoins, which have some interesting feature or potential. And I think when historians look back, they're going to see, wow, it was all bullshit. Like, everything was bullshit. And the trade was just to get Bitcoin before everyone else understood Bitcoin. And it's probably mirroring something that happened thousands of years ago as precious metals evolved into some form of money, right? You must have had people thinking, well, gold is great. And some people thinking, I don't know, pick some random metal, iron is great. And people promoting these different things, but it's probably cyclical. So we probably went through all of that before one metal emerged as the apex predator of that. And now you're having the same thing with Bitcoin and crypto, and even Bitcoin and everything else. But I think historians will look back simply and say, wow, Bitcoin was the apex predator. And it's just astonishing how confused people were in this 20-year gap when Bitcoin went from 0 to $50 trillion market cap.
Everyone thinks they understand Bitcoin until this completely flips it. Because while the market is distracted chasing narratives, something deeper is unfolding, quietly, patiently. Samson Mow is pointing to a blind spot most people don't even realize they have. The idea that Bitcoin can't compete with platforms like Ethereum has been repeated so often, it's accepted as truth. But what if that entire narrative is wrong? What if Bitcoin isn't lacking, just misunderstood? Here's where it gets uncomfortable. While people debate features and chase the next trend, institutions are moving differently, building, positioning, quietly preparing. Even giants like Blackrock and JP Chase aren't ignoring this anymore. And that's the part most miss. The public narrative says one thing, but the actions behind the scenes say another. So the real question is, what do they see that the market doesn't yet? Listen closely.
My views on Bitcoin have pretty much been more or less the same for the past decade, that it is the best asset we have. It is better than gold, better than anything else. And the need for it is only increasing. And the way to scale is in layers, using things like Liquid, like Lightning. People will just have to learn that Bitcoin can do everything. I mean, even the programmability aspect, that was a major grift from the Ethereum side, right? And it's still a prevalent angle that is present in mainstream media, mainstream finance, and Wall Street, that, oh, Ethereum's somehow programmable money and it's tackling a segment that Bitcoin isn't. But that's just false. Bitcoin can do everything. You can do it on layer 2s. You can do it with BitVM. You can do it with simplicity on Liquid. It's just the world doesn't understand yet. They think they think they're too clever. I believe it's sort of like the mid curve, right? Like they think I learned about this thing called Ethereum and has smart contracts, and they just read the popular narratives that it's able to do something Bitcoin isn't, and they don't go and dig deeper. They just believe it at face value, and I think that will just run out in due process, and people will learn that, okay, well, yeah, it's a centralized altcoin with some good marketing behind it, but doesn't actually solve a problem because the base of the technology is broken fundamentally. It's centralized, it's easily controlled, it can be rolled back if needed. It was pre-mined, it had no organic growth or birth, and it's kind of all a mess right now that people don't understand Bitcoin, and historians will cut through that because hindsight is 2020. Right now, it feels like a lot of Bitcoiners are frustrated or at a sort of a midlife crisis of sorts with Bitcoin.
Way to put it.
But I think it's just a lack of patience. Like, we think it's going to happen faster.
Yeah.
And you have to understand that metals, gold and silver, have been around for thousands of years. the level of normie understanding of these things is far superior and far simpler to grasp than Bitcoin. So it's normal that, like, our thesis is hard assets are critical and are important and are going to win the day because fiat is an abomination and should not be here. So that thinking is correct, but that thinking being distilled down to the masses, it's going to hit the metal guys first, the precious metal investors first, right? And that's exactly what happened. It is inevitable that banks and even countries will get into Bitcoin because they just want what is valuable. They cannot dictate what is valuable to the world. That is the crux of the fiat experiment, that they try to dictate that paper is valuable. And it was a gradual process that you kind of like slowly turn the heat on the pot and boil the frog. But they managed to get there. And the majority of the world does believe that paper, or even the virtualization of that paper in your bank account, is money. And I think that illusion is starting to shatter. But the point I'm trying to make is that these large centralized institutions cannot maintain that forever. Money is dictated by everybody in the world, right? We decide what is valuable. And while they can do it for some time, they can't continue that. So it's always been the case that banks and financial institutions, Blackrock and the like, are and will get into Bitcoin. Even JP Morgan is getting into Bitcoin now, right? And Jamie Dimon is probably not happy about that, or he's maintained a very good public face of disliking Bitcoin while promoting it internally, right? And that's also a thing that you can do too, like you're kind of alluding to, that maybe they're implementing a strategy and they don't want the public to catch on yet, so they take a negative public stance on Bitcoin while building out the infrastructure internally to manage and participate in the Bitcoin ecosystem. But I think that's another thing people have to think about, especially Bitcoiners, that you have to think adversarially, that everyone wants your Bitcoin. If Bitcoin is the most valuable asset in the world, then everyone's going to want to get it. And the only way to get it is to play some psychological game, unless they can, unless you're paper-handed, lettuce-handed, and really eager to sell to take a fiat profit, you're going to hold that asset, right? So the only way is to wage psychological warfare, and that can be done, through public statements or through market suppression of Bitcoin and keeping the price low to break your spirit. So I think you have to think adversarially, that everyone is running a psyop on you. All the big financial institutions, they want your Bitcoin, and they're going to tell you Bitcoin is bad to your face while they buy it from you when you sell it. But like Jan 3, we work on nation state Bitcoin adoption as well. And we also get some criticism like, why are you guys trying to get governments into Bitcoin? Well, again, if Bitcoin is valuable, just like gold is, everyone will want that asset, right? So financial institutions, nation states, they're all going to want it. The question is, how do they adopt it? And what types of laws are passed? And are they favorable or not favorable? And can they do it? Can they implement an adoption system that's better for everyone, and maybe break some of the surveillance mechanisms that are part of the financial system? Like, the financial system has largely been captured and weaponized to surveil people too, right? Like, it's almost, well, you have a hard application of social credit, but then you have a soft application of social credit too in the West. And I don't think people fully realize that, but Bitcoin can break that cycle and actually, restore a lot of the freedom and liberties that people should have in a modern society.